Hey guys, hope that all is well. Hope you enjoyed your spring break. Hopefully you didn't have too much work and all that. All I care about at the moment is that you're all doing well, that you're all safe, your families are safe and healthy. Other than that, we can go anywhere else from there. But I just want to let you know, going forward now, every assignment that we do, it's all going to be for cycle 4. And with cycle 4, it should be a lot easier in terms of the material that we're going to cover compared to the previous cycle. So again, as long as you guys are watching the videos, just make sure you're answering the questions for each assignment. Use this video as much as you need to, and it should help out a lot. Don't forget too, there's a formula sheet that's on Pearson. So every time you need to do an assignment, you don't know what the formulas are, you can search them online, or you can just pull up that formula sheet that I have for you, which I'm updating on the regular. So starting today and going forward, we're going to be working with 3-dimensional shapes. And next couple of weeks, each week, we're going to tackle a different 3-dimensional shape. First one we're going to work with is called a prism. It's called a prism. And again, I don't know if you guys have ever covered any of these in elementary school. If not, we're going to go over everything. And again, the biggest difference is what we've been doing throughout the year is working with 2D shapes. So anything that's flat. Square, rectangle, triangle, circle, those are all 2D because they're all flat. What we're going to be working with now are all 3D shapes. And what a prism looks like is a figure that has dimension. It has 3 different dimensions. It has a length, it has a width, and it has a height. And again, I will get them to look better. But one thing that we know about 3-dimensional shapes is that they have 3 dimensions, right? They have a length, right? They have a length, they have a width, and they have a height. And just always remember that. Again, sometimes the order doesn't matter in terms of which one you're talking about, but we have a length, we have a width, and we have a height. And the one thing you gotta remember about a prism, what makes it a prism is that going around, so when we have this, so for example, this would be a prism, because when we're going around, you see that all the sides that are going around are all rectangles, and that's what a prism is. Prism is literally a figure that has rectangles going all around. In this case, it would be a rectangular prism because the bases, the top and the bottom, they're rectangles. So if you were to have, for example, something that would look like, let's say something that would look like this, right? You had this. What this would be called would be a triangular prism. And the reason that this would be a triangular prism is because what's going around are rectangles and the bases are triangles. But for now, again, just remember, what makes a prism is that it has rectangles going around the sides. Has prisms going around the sides, rectangles. And what we're going to be focusing on today and tomorrow is exclusively rectangular prisms. We're just going to be working with rectangular prisms because I'm not trying to confuse you guys to start off. And so a rectangular prism is exactly that. Looks like a box. Any kind of box, think of it for that way, right? Where you have a length, you have a width, and we have a height. And what we're going to be doing for today and tomorrow, we're going to be figuring out volume and surface area. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the term. I think most of you have. And we have volume, which is what we're going to do today, and surface area, which we're going to do tomorrow. And so when we're talking about volume of a prism, this is literally as easy as it can get. Okay? Where you have the volume of a prism, and since it's a prism again, think of a figure that has rectangles going around the sides, right? Where also, think of it this way. A lot of times when it comes to a 3D shape, you have length, you have width, and you have height, right? But also realize it's where you're used to something flat. Now we're dealing with something that has 6 faces. And what the faces are, basically think of all the flat surfaces that are there, right? So when you think of a box, think of that, think of this for the most part. It has 6 faces, and what I mean by that is the front and the back, right? The top and the bottom, and the left and the right. So the front and back are 2, top and the bottom are another 2, left and right are another 2, gives you 6. So every time you're dealing with a rectangular prism, it's got 6 different faces all around, right? And whenever you're trying to find volume, and it's going to be a question that you guys will get on quizzes, on tests all the time throughout the cycle, volume is everything that's inside of a figure. Volume is always how much space can be held inside of a 3D shape. So if you're talking about volume, you're talking about what's on the inside. So if we want to figure out how much space this prism can actually hold inside, how much volume, there's a formula for it. And the formula for volume is always going to be length times width times height. Okay? And it doesn't matter the order because we're multiplying, right? So all you would do is literally multiply length times width times height, and that's it. And that would give you the volume, that would tell you how much space is inside of the figure. So now let's just try some out, right? Just so you can actually see how simple it is. Let's say that the length over here would be 5 inches, right? Let's say that the width over here would be 4 inches. And let's say that the height would be 10 inches, right? So we know that the length is 5, we know that the width is 4, we know that the height is 10. If we wanted to figure out the volume, all you would do is just substitute it in, right? So you would do volume is, we know that the length is 5, right? So we would write 5 times, we know that the width is 4, times 4, and then the height is 10, so we would just write 10. And that's all it is. It's literally just substituting 5 times 4 times 10, because the 5 is the length, the 4 is the width, and the 10 is the height. That's all it is. And now once you get here, again, all it is just multiplying, because when it comes to volume, you just multiply the length, the width, and the height. So all you can do it all 3, you can do it 2 at a time, doesn't matter. Easiest way to do it, just go in order. You know that 5 times 4 is 20, right? And then we know that 20 times 10 is equal to 200. And that would be our answer. We know that the volume is 200 because whenever you multiply 5 times 4 gives you 20, 20 times 10 gives you 200. And the only difference when it comes to volume is that whenever we express our final answer, it has to be inches cubed. And the reason that it's cubed, it's because you're dealing with 3 dimensions. You're dealing with length, width, and height. Think back to when we were dealing with area. Area was always squared because you were dealing with 2 dimensions, length and width. Also think of it this way. If you're doing inches times inches times inches, inches to the 3rd. That's where it comes from. And again, 200 inches cubed just means that this prism can hold 200 inches. That 200 represents how much space is inside of that figure. It's all volume is. It's how much is inside of the figure. Let's try another one. And it's nothing more than that, guys. It's just figuring out volume, the space that's inside of a figure, right? So let's say I gave you another rectangular prism, right? And again, they all don't have to look exactly alike, right? Sometimes they look longer than others. Other times they look like a box, which you guys would think of as a box. Always think too. It's got multiple sides, multiple faces. And I'm just drawing this because it's going to help start to see as the lessons go forward. Again, we have a rectangular prism. Let's say I wanted you to find the volume, right? I want you to find the volume of that prism. And in order to find the volume of that prism, again, we need to know. Let's say that the length is going to be 7 feet, right? Let's say that the width is going to be 3 feet. And let's say that the height's going to end up being 6 feet, right? So we know that the length is 7. We know that the width is 3. We know that the height is 6. And all we have to do is just use our formula for volume, which is length times width times height. And now all it is, it's just substituting, right? So we're going to substitute our length, 7, times width, 3, times 6 height. That's all it is. I just literally took every single term. Length is 7, width is 3, 6 is height, and all we're going to do now is just multiply them. So when you multiply them, again, go in order, doesn't matter. Doesn't even matter if you mix up the numbers because when you multiply, it's all the same thing. We know that 7 times 3 is 21, right? Now we're going to end up doing 21 times 6. So when you end up doing 21 times 6, it comes out to 126. And where I got that 126 from, again, you did 21 times 6. And all it is, it's just multiplying. If you do 7 times 3 times 6, it'll give you 126. If you want to do piece by piece, you could. 7 times 3 is 21. 21 times 6 gives you 126. It's just multiplying all of them out. And then, since we're dealing with feet, it would be feet. And since it's volume, it's going to be feet cubed. Always remember, whenever it's volume, it's always cubed. Whenever it's area, it's always squared, always. And again, what that 126 means is all the space that's inside of that figure. There's 126 feet cubed in that area. Okay? I'm going to give you guys a quiz on Friday. It's going to be 6 questions. Typically now what I'm going to do for each quiz is 6 questions. Each test is going to be 10. Just know this. Volume is literally all the space that's inside of a figure. Tomorrow we're going to get to surface area, which is all the space that's on the outside of a figure. And then just know how to find volume. And whenever it comes to finding the volume of a prism, it's length times width times height. And whenever it's volume, it's always cubed. Again, any questions, guys, feel free to message me, free to email me, anything. Good luck. Take care.